Hello and welcome to episode 59 of the No Excuses podcast. My name's Anne and I live in Worcestershire in the middle of England with my husband Tom and our dog Bertie, who as always is lying behind me. Only because this time, I say always, he's always there, but it's partly because I've got a new fresh cup of coffee and we're having an early tea tonight, so I've just had a couple of biscuits as my dinner, i.e. lunch, if you're posher than me. So let's start out with a slurp, start out how we mean to go on. And first of all, I want to say sorry, I've been missing for so many weeks. I'd wanted to podcast last week, but I really wanted to get this cardigan, which I'll talk about in a minute, but you've no doubt spotted, finished first. Because I haven't had anything to show you that's been finished for a couple of episodes now. And this is supposed to be a knitting podcast after all. Ish. Anyway, so today we've got to mention the malls, what I'm wearing, which is a finished item, progress on things, backwards and forwards, start, stop, you know me, and future stuff that I'm wondering about that you might have some opinions on, which are welcome, because I can't make a decision. A bit of incoming and what I've been up to, which isn't a lot really. So it's Wednesday the 24th of May. It's my sister-in-law Iris's birthday. Iris is Brazilian and she's in Brazil at the moment. I think Mum said she comes back next week. So I've sent her a message on Instagram to wish her happy birthday. We don't see Iris very often because they live in Hastings. With my brother Neil lives in Hastings, so we don't get to see them very often. Yeah. So let's hit the road, or whatever you want to call it. First of all, everything I talk about should be listed down below. I try and put links into everything. If I mention a pattern, then I try and find it elsewhere on the web. Apart from Ravelry, because I know not everybody likes using it, but I try to give as much information as I can. If you can't find something, please always give me a shout, because I'm happy to help. Excuse me, that's my biscuits. So unprofessional. Yeah, so everything's down there. All my contact details. You can contact me on Ravelry, on Instagram, or by email. I don't mind really. I have got a Facebook page, but I don't use it. In fact, I created that absolutely a few years ago before I started podcasting. But now we'll talk about what's happening today. At the moment, there is the Smash the Stash Mal going on in the group. I've got quite a few entries already. Thank you very much. I'd forgotten to update the details. What I do, I look on Ravelry and Instagram, and I have the occasional email come in as well. And I keep a spreadsheet with everybody roughly in order they're submitted. But I hadn't realised I've not been on Ravelry to update for, I don't know, about 6 weeks. And I don't know where the time goes to. So I'm really sorry. I've tried to catch up with that. And I don't comment on everything now, but what I do is I like everything and I save it into a favourites bundle on Ravelry, so I can always look back and see what people have made, and if I want some inspiration for patterns and I've seen something nice I like, but I just save everything into I call it Mal Makes, very simple, bundle on Ravelry. And on Instagram as well. I've updated that. I got up to date on Sunday, I think it was. It takes quite a while to do, and I think the administrator in me can't let go. Got to put the finer details in there. Well, it takes me longer than it probably should. Anyway, so the other Mal that I've got a Ravelry group for, and I'm failing miserably at entering, is Alice's from SoxyNana Alice in Canada. I always want to say Canada. In Canada, is running the Scrappy Toy Mal, and that ends in the beginning of June, I think. I don't know, Alice has put a date. I need to look at her latest podcast. I've seen the one before last, but I think she put another one up last week that I haven't seen yet. I'm so behind on my podcasts. I go down rabbit holes and get stuck down rabbit holes, and there's nobody to pull me back out. How's that for an analogy? There's a Ravelry thread, and also it's on Instagram as well, using the hashtag that I've put down below and also on the screen. And you can enter any teddy doll toy that you've knitted, crocheted, sewn presumably. And I've wanted to do the tea bears, but the wool is in the loft and I haven't asked Tom to go and get it off me. I will be making it, whether I'm not sure now that I'll even get it started before the mail begins, because I've got a busy couple of days doing various things I need and want to do coming up. And I think June's next week. It's 24, so it must be soon, isn't it? So, ta-da! What am I wearing? I am wearing the Blue Moment. It's a pattern that was in the contrast book by Laine, and I'll put the name of the designer here because I don't want to mispronounce it. I'm a bit of a Karen. I need to write that down. Put it down. Now, this has been made in Cookston Crafts 4-ply merino yak and silk in the maple leaf colourway. It's not on her website at the moment. I haven't looked to see whether she still carries the same wool, but it's lovely. I started this as one of the 12 cast-ons, so when I finish this episode, I'm going to put it on Instagram as a finished item under that hashtag. And then I put it away until about probably end of March, and I got it out again, started knitting on it, and I haven't. And I've carried on then. I've tried it on twice, which I don't always do, and I'm very pleased with it. I'm picking at it already, look. Good things. The lace is blocked beautifully. I don't know if you can see, but I've got some photos to put in anyway. The lace looks complicated. It's not really. I love the way the increases go from the yoke into the main body. It flows really, really nicely, all in the pattern, of course. And I've actually got the sleeve length right for me for a change. I put it on when I was about 2/3 of the way down sleeve number 1. You know, I hate knitting sleeves in the round on DPNs. It's my least favourite part of knitting, I think. And decided what length I wanted. I wanted full length sleeves. They creep up a little bit sometimes, but I'd rather that than them be too long, because then they just get in my way. And then the buttons are glass buttons, and I'd say I'd call them vintage, like people do, because they're certainly from possibly before my childhood, I think. And I'm very old, as you know. I went out with my mum. I'll tell you in a minute. But I went out with my mum. I wore this yesterday. It gave me an aim, because I knew I was going out. It gave me an aim to get it finished, get the buttons on, because I could have worn it without the buttons. I'm hardly ever going to do this up. If it went, I don't think it goes around my tummy actually, but we'll gloss over that, because I never stand up, so why would it ever need to? I want to stretch it out of all proportion. But Mum said to me, "Oh, I've got some buttons like that." I said, "No, you haven't. You gave me these." She went, "Oh, I thought I recognised them." They're beautiful. And I thought they were bigger before I got them out of my button bag. I thought they were bigger than this, and I was a bit worried that they weren't going to fit the buttonhole. But no, they're fine. I ran out towards the end. I need one more button in theory, but because it's not going to do it around me and I don't want to stretch the ribbing too much, it's going to remain like that. And it's going to be the sort of cardie that if I want to do it up, I should just do the first 2 or 3 buttons up and leave it at that. So I'm really, really pleased. I knitted 415 grams, used 415 grams, which equates to about 15-20 metres. So 1.5 kilometres of walk in this. And I'm really pleased with it. The colour is gorgeous. It's got pinks, it's got rust yellows, a bit, touch of grey, probably because the base yarn is grey. But I doubt whether you can see it. You might see it on some of the photographs, how beautifully speckly tonally it is. Is that a phrase? But the only negative is it's pilling a little bit. Now, you know when I washed it, I was going to spray it and block it, but it wasn't going to work, and it turned from what looked like it was going to be a fairly short cardigan to something quite big when it was blocked. But I was sort of expecting that, but it did grow vertically a bit more because I hung it, when it was dry, hung it on a coat hanger, and it went a bit longer. But I'm okay with that. It covers me bum. It's not too long that I sit on it, which is important to me. But yeah, it does pill a little bit. Oh no, what I was going to say was when I washed it and I was smoothing it out, and Tom was helping me put it on my blocking mats when it was wet, ended up having a lot of fluff on the fingers. You know what I mean? I've done that before with certain yarns you get, and you can go like this and it all sort of flies away. So I don't know whether that's the merino, the silk, or the yak doing that. Doubt it's the silk. Anyway, it's pilling a tiny bit. It's not too bad, but I expect it, because it's new, I expect it to lose a little bit anyway. If it's going to fluff a bit in your hands when you've washed it, and it left a bit of residue in the sink as well, and it was soaked, then it's going to lose a little bit, isn't it, as it's worn. So all in all, I'm very pleased. I knitted something like the 58-inch bust one, because I measure a bit more than that. Just don't tell anybody. So I always try and make it, because I think I didn't swatch, I just guessed. And it's knitted on a 3mm and a 2.5 for the rib. I did Icelandic cast off on the, I'm not going to show you, Icelandic cast off on the hem, and I did a German twist, I did tubular cast off or bind off on the sleeves, which was quite nice. I wasn't going to do that on the hem, because by the time you pull all that wool through for each stitch, it's like, you know, I think it could wear the wool out, isn't it, a bit. I hope I didn't go off screen then. So yeah, this is my blue moment. I'm really pleased with it, and we're on to the next thing, hopefully soon, maybe with your help. Now, let's go on to progress, shall we? I'm just going to swing you slightly. Yeah. I got an advent from Zakami last year, and it was quite a dark advent. Lovely. I bought the double knit merino version, and I've been umming and ahhing about what to make. I'll get it out in a minute. What to make with it. It's a lot of browns, a bit of blue, a bit of pink, orangey colour, but I think browns and sort of autumnal colours are the predominant look overall. So I've got 24 times 20 gram minis, and I've got an skein for Christmas Day. So that's quite a bit of wool, and I could have knitted a jumper with it, but my problem with that is it's superwash merino, it's quite loose pied, it's not going to last on me, and of course advents are very expensive. I'm not saying they shouldn't be, but they're very expensive, and I don't want to waste it. So I decided I'd do a shawl. I wanted to use it in the house predominantly as a wrap or something like that around me. I put a picture of the either when I started talking about it just, or here, of the advent. You can't really see closer, but you'll get what I mean about the browns and it being a darker sort of tone. I started doing a right angle triangle. So start off with 3 stitches I did, and I was doing a slip stitch and garter and stocking stitch panels as it grew, introducing, I don't know, something like 9 stitches in each panel with a slip stitch in between them, and it has looked nice, but of course that's not reversible, and although it looked okay on the back, and I was thinking, this is going to be, how big is this going to be when I finish it, you know? Is it going to be big enough to wrap around me? And I was umming and ahhing about that. Excuse me, I worked on it about 4 days, as you do, and decided it wasn't what I wanted. And then I casted on a asymmetric shawl, so where you increase on each row one end and you decrease on one row the other side, and it sort of grows, you know, we know what we mean. And I didn't like that either, and that was all garter stitch. I hadn't got to the point where I wanted to introduce another pattern, and I was umming and ahhing, and I thought, no, I don't want it, I want something deeper than this. And I went and had a look at my patterns, because I don't really want to, I've got enough patterns, I keep buying them, but occasionally. And I went and had a look at the patterns I've got under capes and cowls, that type of thing. And I found one called the Kateless by Kate Celine. Now, a lot of you may have heard of Kate Celine. She predominantly does minis, or does she only do minis? I meant to have a look at that. She's in Wales, I think. Not too far from me. And I know she does a podcast from a little nook from, under the stairs. Generally don't watch her, but she's got some very simple free patterns on her website. And I downloaded the Kateless, which is basically a poncho, a little while ago, and I decided that that is going to be what I was going to do, and I've stuck to it, and I'm sticking to it. This is that lovely silicone tubing that Sal gave me as part of the Advent swap that we did this year, and I found it quite useful. It's a devil sometimes, because you have to shove a knitting needle, something like a bodkin, into the end, and then pick up the stitches going round. But there's plenty of length on it, even for this, and you know how wide ponchos can be. But occasionally it does fall out, and that can be a bit of a, not lose me stitches type of thing. But generally it works very well. So this is the Kateless, right? This is as far as I've got, and you can see it's a bit stripy, but I'm using 2 minis at once, not knitted together. I'm just alternating. I didn't on the neckline. You cast on, and she gives you 3, she tells you how to make your neck bigger, and I did my neck bigger because I've got a big head and I didn't want it, close to my neck. No short rows, didn't bother with that. It's a poncho, it's mainly going to be worn in the house. And then you do a set of 8 increases all the way round. You can possibly see the line of increase on there. So you end up, I think she's got a blanket where it must be a pinhole start with the same increases, because it ends up being circular. And I've just tried it on. It is a bit frilled lizard look at the moment, but it looks like it's doing very well. And with Tom's advice, I'm going to carry on increasing for now, because the minute you stop increasing, it'll go straight down and it'll end up being like a tube, won't it? A wide tube. So I'm going to carry on increasing for now, and then I'll probably try it on again in a few inches time. But yeah, so you can see I alternate stripes, alternate skeins now, mini skeins, and I'm trying to keep them so that it's not totally dark or light. At the moment I'm using that one, which has got pinks, oranges, browns in, and this is towards the end now of this one. Excuse me, that's my phone, I've got the sound was on. dark brown, a bit tonal with the hint of yellow in. And then I'm going to change when that finishes. I'm moving on to that one. But those are quite similar in the fact that they're both variegated, highly variegated. So I may change that out for something a little bit more solid, but I'll see. So I'm going to carry on. It might only use some 20 grams. It might not use all the minis. I mean, I might not need to go into the 100 gram one. They've all been wound up, so that's not an issue. But being me, my idea is, instead of wearing a house jumper, I'll wear a poncho. But of course it comes down to sort of there on me at the moment. So I'm thinking that I only probably want it to come back just past my elbows, because I don't want it to get in my way. So we'll see. Pointing implement. No weapons here. So I'm pleased with that. And I was getting to the stage, because I was getting myself not ratty, but a bit annoyed with myself. Whenever I try and do something without a pattern, it fails. And nothing I already owned that I'd looked at previously in terms of scarves or shawls were what I wanted. I didn't want a wrap. A wrap is not so good for me. And I thought about a poncho, and then I've settled on this. And I kept meaning to have a look at other Kateless on Ravelry, and I assume there might be some on there. I'm not sure. I don't know if the pattern's on there or what. I have to have a look. So yeah, so I'm pleased with that. Now the other thing that I've started, which I can't show you because it's for my mother and I don't want us to see it. Sorry, get into camera. Is a scarf for my mum, and it's been knitted in this lovely Mulled Wine colourway by Attic Spin Dye. Isn't that lovely? Beautiful colours in it. And yeah, I've only just started knitting on that this morning, and it's in my needle and thread bag because it's got to be matchy, hasn't it, Sue? Sue Godfrey put something up the other day and said a knitting matched a bag. Well, yeah, there we go. It does. In this case, doesn't usually. And then my next project, I'm going to have to back up, and I shall be back in a second. Hello. Well, a card I've just been, so we're a bit start and stop this end, but the next thing, now I've finished the Blue Moments, the next thing I want to make is a cardigan using this lovely yarn from Biff Sugar, Alice at Biff Sugar Yarns, and she did a custom dye for me on one of her existing colours called Florence, and it's a cream base with beautiful like mustard and purples in it. That's it in the skein, and I've hand wound this. I've had to hand wind it because, well, no, my Swift has broken. I've got a Knit Pick Swift, so I'm saying that in a hurry, that I've probably had for about 5 or 6 years. It wasn't expensive in terms of some of the Swifts that you can buy. It was about £35, I think. And it, yeah, the spring at the top, it's got spring steel in it at the top. It's an umbrella Swift, and that's lost its memory, so it's coming out at the top. So where you're trying to tension the skein to start unwinding it, it's not sitting properly. The top bit's coming out, so that you're not getting the umbrella effect very, very well. Tom's had a look at it, and he thinks one of the reasons might be that when you're using a winder and you're going really fast and it jams, which, you know, occasionally does happen, it can make it might have stretched the memory of the spring steel too far, so it doesn't work. Having said that, and I quite agree, you know, see what he's saying. Having said that, I haven't used a winder for a couple of years, so I'm not sure. So this is Florence, and it's a BFL, of course. Looks like a high twist. Now, just say that on there. I'd like to make a cardigan, and I'm thinking of the Maimer by Pip and Pin, Megan Nodecker. I'll put a photograph up here. She's used a similar looking yarn actually to this, in a way, similar colours, but it's got a honeycomb brioche stitch in it, and I've not done brioche before. I don't have the fear of it as much as in, what do I do if I go wrong, if you know what I mean? How do I correct my mistakes? But I like the look of it, and I think it'll be nice and squishy, and I've got plenty of yarn, so I could make one of those. What I'd fancied in this, really, with a little short cardigan with a bit of patterning on it, you know, like just for the summer. Having said that, I've only really got double knitting patterns that look like that from places like Serdar or King Cole. So the jury's out at the moment. Got any ideas? Oh, the other one I thought about was a sparkle cardigan by Hoagie Locatelli, and I've also got the Wishes pattern, which is a bit Empire Line-ish, with a bit of a waterfall front. Don't know how I'd get on with that. Not sure. Depends how long I make it, I suppose. So yeah, ideas please on a postcard too. I'd like to get that cast on, but there might be something else in the offing. Yeah. So I'm not sure. I want to get it started, but I think I need to finish the Kateless first, because you know me, I'm not very good at having several things on the needles. So, and that moves us swiftly on to incoming. I haven't got very much. No. I bought some beads from the Southampton bead shop. Only a couple of, I bought 2 of each. Very pretty sort of iridescent blue. What's it called? It's called a variegated blue lined crystal, AB, Aurora Borealis. Not sure. You can probably only see the plastic bag. You might be able to see that a bit better. Chartreuse green. And I've also got some pink. Oh, you won't see them. So I'll take a picture from above and put it in my podcast. It's all right. I want to do this today, so that I can get it edited out tomorrow, because it's getting ridiculous. You know, I'm not having spoken to you for nearly 4 weeks. And that's it really. I've got some yarn on order from Needle and Thread, and I've got 2 skeins coming from Biff Sugar, which was her March or April colourway. I think I just couldn't resist the colours. But I wanted to make, I don't know if I mentioned this last time, a short sleeved cardigan, or maybe long sleeve or 3/4, I don't know yet, cardigan for the summer in a blue. And I've been looking at various blues online, and I did think maybe I should ask Libby from Needle and Thread if she'd change my colour that I chose at Wonderwall, and that's just a tonal, but I didn't want that. I wanted something with a bit of speckle in it, a bit of colour variation. For what I had in mind, I could see something in my head. Now, Cookston Crafts, Claire at Cookston Crafts does a nice colour, but she's only got a merino, and there were a couple of other dyers that I looked at and I really liked. There was somebody on Instagram that had a very nice speckly blue. It had speckles of black and things, but part of a fade, and they were starting to stock BFL, and I asked them if they would, you know, if they were going to do that particular colour on a BFL. They said yes, they could. And they said how much it would be, which was £23, and I thought that's quite a lot for somebody who needs a few skeins. Me needs a few skeins. I thought that's quite a lot of money, really. So I left that. I thought, I'm not going to order immediately. And then I was looking on Etsy and found a company called Bobble and Badger, I was just looking for BFL DK. I wanted DK so it would knit up quicker. Bob Walton Badger, and that's Emma that runs that. And I ordered some. I saw a colour of hers which I thought would work beautifully, and asked her to do a custom dye for me on BFL because I knew she stocked BFL anyway, and she said yes, certainly, I'll get the yarn in and do it for you. Showed me a picture, said if you don't like it you don't have to take it. All very good, very good communication, and she was charging me £17 a skein. So that's quite a saving, isn't it, really? I mean, a £6 a skein saving. Now, I'm not saying that I don't know whether the quality of the BFLs are similar or the same. I suspect they'll both be fine. I don't know whether, Anyway, for whatever reason, the price difference was considerable, and I decided to, I preferred the colour anyway that Emma was doing. Now, I thought, it came this morning, thought I'd open it in front of you. So I've seen a photograph. It's not the same as seeing it in real life, is it? So excuse me for the rustling. I'm going to tear into it. So it's a DK, and the idea is I'll make a nice pale blue summer cardigan. Oh my goodness. It's a bit of lime green, pale blue, Air Force blue, and it's called Stardust, hand dyed BFL DK, 225 metres for 100 grams. It's got slight speckles in it, not very many, which is fine, and that is going to look lush in it. Now, you look at the difference between that and that, you can tell that's a high twist, you can see the twists in it. This is much softer, got a little bit of a halo compared to that, but that's 4-ply, so you'd expect it to look a lot different to this one. But this, I mean, it's beautiful. They're both beautiful. I love them both. But this is going to get wound up and this is going to get started first. So I'm very sorry, Florence, but you're going to have to wait. And I want cardigans from them both. Now, I can probably use one of my Sirdar patterns now, preferably V-neck. And I've just got this idea of maybe a 3/4 sleeve if I can do it, with bit of patterning on the front. I've got the pattern, the Bernadette, which is a scoop neck short sleeve cardigan for 4-ply if I want to use that for that. That's got a bit of patterning on. But you know what it's like when you've got highly variegated yarn, if you put a pattern in like a lace or a cable, it can get lost. So I'm going to see how this knits up first, start on the back, because if I use one of my old patterns, I could use, actually, my swamp monster, which swamps me basically. If I go down a size and I use that pattern, it might be quite nice and be a bit more semi-fitted on me. And I can knit the back first because I'll knit it in pieces, and I'll be do that, and I can see how it looks, and then I can decide whether it needs any patterning on the front. It might just have a row of eyelets next to the button band, something simple like that. I do like to fiddle with things. Invariably it doesn't work out, but we can try. Now, speaking of knitting flat, I've been asked to talk a bit about knitting flat, and really it would be my go-to choice. And I know a lot of people find it alien and they hate sewing and everything, but for me, knitting flat is simple. It's simpler, it's more portable, it's what I've grown up with and what I know. And really, I can sort of guess from doing it for years whether something's going to fit me or not. Says Anna, who says a swamp monster swamps her, But generally speaking, I find it easier on my hands, and I struggle a bit when you've got the whole weight of the jumper cardigan on your needles and you're knitting in the round, especially when you get to the end of the sleeves and things. So I tend to knit at a table anyway, and I tend to sit at a table most of the time now because it's more supportive for my back anyway. But knitting flat for me is, I mean, it just comes naturally. And I would do a mal for seamed things, but I don't think I'd get many takers. Some people are absolutely vehemently against getting a tapestry needle out, or a bodkin, or whatever you want to call it, and sewing things up. And I think if you're going to knit flat, that's where the experience helps. Because if you're not used to sewing, that can be something that changes the appearance of your garment. My advice would be, well, I knit flat. I knit the back first because it's the biggest part. Get that out of the way, and from that I can decide how deep from the armholes to the waist or to the hem I want to knit it, you see. And then usually most of my patterns are probably raglan sleeved, and sometimes I'll put a pattern in the raglan. Sometimes the pattern itself has got a little bit of something, you know, like the Felix has in the raglan, but otherwise it can be setting sleeves, in which case it's more of a straight seam that goes up at the end of your arm, and you've got a bit of a shoulder then to join. Now these days I'd probably use a 3 needle cast off for the shoulder seams if I was doing setting sleeves, because with raglan it just peters out to nothing, doesn't it, more or less. But I always used to do back stitch on my shoulders to strengthen them, and you do end up with a bit of a ridge there when you join them, but you do if you do a 3 needle cast off anyway. So both of them are very good, I think, for carrying the weight of the rest of the shoulder, the rest of the garment, especially since I'm knitting a bigger size. And you need to bear that in mind if you're knitting, if you're somebody that wants to knit something seamed and thinking, you know, then because I'm knitting a bigger size, there's more weight for those seams to carry. I've never had a problem, to be honest, over the years. But if you've never done it before, my advice would be is to block your items when you finish knitting them, and then put them all together. It should make seaming easier. Now, I didn't even know about mattress stitch till about, I don't know, even 6 or 7 years ago, that recently. And it was in one of these patterns books, I've probably said before, and it was saying you pick up on the edge. I'm going to need to show you on here. I can't show you on the Kateless, it's got no seams. But when you're sewing, you pick a strand up from one side of the garment. Say you're joining the back to the front on the underarm sleeve seam. You'd pick a stitch up from the underarm, and you'd stitch up from the back, from the front and then the back, and work down like that, a bit like ladder stitch in embroidery and sewing. And then I don't put it at the end, I just keep the tension fairly even. It does give you a bulky seam inside, but it's virtually invisible on the outside. Now I tend to pick up 2 strands at once. I can't be bothered with one here, one there, especially if you've got something thick like a double knit. You don't really want to make it even more bulky, I don't think personally, or an Allen weight even, by picking up every strand, which would be every row, you know. So I tend to do 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, and then, you know, make sure it looks okay as I'm going down. Keep an eye on the fact that the 2 hems match up. I tend to start from the underarm going down, make sure they match up, and work your way to those. I've got a lot of experience doing this. I'm not saying I'm brilliant, but I'm neater than some. I'm not as anywhere neat as other people. Then with the underarm seam, I would probably use whip stitch, because I wouldn't want it as bulky as the underarm seam personally. Whether you're joining a raglan or you're doing a setting, I would tend to do a whip stitch. Now I know I used to watch Fruity Knitting, and Andrea on there swears by whip stitch all the way, but I personally would do whip stitch on the sleeve seams, and I'd do mattress stitch on the side seams, and I'd do a 3 needle cast off or back stitch on the shoulder seams. That all makes sense? and I never, ever, ever, ever do a separate front band and sew it on. That would drive me mad. But with practice, and that applies whether you're doing top down, bottom up, or pieced flat, working flat. If you're doing a separate button band that you do after you've finished everything else, picking up, I've got far better at picking up my stitches than I used to, and I don't care if it's within a couple of what the pattern says. In fact, I don't even look anymore at what the pattern says usually. I just look at it, do it evenly. I use stitch markers, the ball stitch markers, to mark out each section, and as long as I've got the same number of stitches, or within 1 or 2 maybe, depending on how many stitches I've got on there, of the opposite side, if it's a cardigan, then I don't worry. Well, jumpers don't have button bands. So yeah, so I work my way around doing that. So yeah. So I prefer knitting flat, and I haven't knitted anything flat since Swamp Monster, I don't think. So I will be winding this up, and I will be casting on a new cardigan very soon, within the week. And what I'll do is I'll show you, and I'll see if I can. I'm not sure I can video from above, because I haven't got anything that will hold my camera at that angle, I don't think, but I'll see. But I can certainly show you what my seaming looks like when I get to there. So yeah, I'll include that in a future video. But if I haven't covered anything that anybody's interested in, let me know. I'm not claiming to be an expert in knitting flat. It's just that I am well practiced in it, like a lot of UK women of my age. I thought top down, it's a lazy way to do it. Actually, it can be a lot easier, because I didn't even know about it until Ravelry came along, and it kept saying top down, and a bit like my adversity to trying the brioche or the half brioche stitch, I was thinking, oh, shall I? And I'm used to it now, and I get on a lot better with it, you know. And I've knitted, probably in the last 5 years, I've probably knitted more top down than I've knitted, or bottom up, but all sort of relatively seamless, than I've knitted flat. So it could do me good to knit something flat again. So there. So anything I haven't covered, let me know. The people that are asking me about it, and otherwise I shall show you my pieces as they grow. Watch this space. Now, before we leave incoming, because I got a bit diverted there on something I'd forgotten to talk about last time, I also bought this, and this is for my Auntie Sue, to make her a hat for the winter when she's walking her dog, Jet. And it is Malabrigo Rios in the sausages on toast English Rose colourway. I bought this from Woolstack, along with some higher flyers, which I've put away, and I was going to talk about those as well. I bought the flyers. They're a pack of 3, and they're just short with short points, and they've got the blue cable that higher do in between, and I did the cuffs with them. Now, if I use them again, I'll take some photographs and show you. I didn't find them the easiest things to use. I had to change my style of knitting slightly, but I persevered. I was only doing 12 rounds of rib with them, 2.5 needle, but I think they were quicker than using DPNs personally. So there you go. I do try to do different things. I may be 62.5, but I do try to do different things every now and again. Just noticed I've got lemon and ginger. That's one of the few teas I will drink, actually, out of the fruity ones. Don't mind that, because I love anything lemon flavoured. Lemon drizzle cake. So I think that's it. Let me have a look. Let me just put that to one side. I'll just talk about where I've been and what I've done and things, and then and then I'll let you go. So in the last, I just thought of something where I'd been, and then I've forgotten again. Anyway, on the 3rd of May, we had our tenor evening, and I wasn't driving for a change. I wore my jacket that's on the back of the door there that Mum made me. Got some compliments on that. Thank you, Mother. It's lovely. It's already a bit warm to wear, but I'll probably get a bit more wear out of it come the autumn, but I'll try and wear it if it's a cold day, even now. So we've got loads of bird activity at the moment. We've got robins nesting in the eaves of the shed, and they're getting through so many fat balls every day, and seeds and mealworms. Well, we're giving them calcium worms at the moment because they're better for the eggshells, apparently. Get eaten, devoured by starlings. The other birds don't really get a look in. But yeah, the robins, Tom thinks he saw a couple of the chicks practising fluttering their wings this morning, so it may be of the robin nest. So it may be that they're I'm looking at him now, he's feeding them right at the door. So it may be that they fledged today, tomorrow, whatever. But usually it's at night or early in the morning, so we won't get to see them. Yeah. And Spring Watch starts next week, and I love that programme, if you're in the UK. Yes, got lots and lots of activity. The blue tits look so tatty, and they've obviously got chicks to feed. They're all like dishevelled little things, because I only about that pig. So I went to Cozy Club, had a nice evening. I had the vintage cheddar and cider, it said tart, and it's like a tart that had been on a flat. It's basically a cheese sauce, quite tasty. It had a bit of whole grain mustard in it, and it came with fries and salad, I think, and I really enjoyed that. Had a whiskey based cocktail, bourbon I think, or bourbon, bourbon? But it's not on their menu, so I can't tell you, because they've changed their menu and it's summer drinks at the moment, so I can't tell you which one it was. I think I had a raspberry and vanilla martini, and I may have had a rum, I'm not sure, I don't think I did. I think I drank 4 drinks, and again, I left some of my last drink because, I had a porn star martini and a raspberry and vanilla martini, because they do a 2 for about 11 or 12 quid until about 8 o'clock at night. So we ordered 2, me and my friend who were drinking cocktails, ordered 2 before the 8 o'clock came. And when Tom picked us up at 9, I couldn't quite finish the last bit of mine. It was just a bit sweet. I needed to stick to something less sweet. Could barely get back in the car, and not because I was drunk. I was quite relaxed and felt good, but I was trying to push myself into the car with one stick, and I was like arm's length, and I couldn't get back any further. It's getting ridiculous. Drives me mad. But I'm here now. I'll have to get a taxi. I tend to not drive only a couple of times a year, so I just have to get a taxi home and leave it at that. And then I met with Jan again, who's a tenor girl, and Jeanette, who lives just up the road from me, and we used to work together years and years and years ago, and we went round our local pub for a chat. I met Penny and Maggie as well. Maggie's gone to the States now to see her son for the first time. I think she saw him briefly last year, but they've gone for a visit for a few weeks, or she's about to go this weekend maybe, I can't remember. Sorry Maggie. Saw Penny and Maggie together at the same pub, different day. And then I went to Merry Hill with Liz and Elaine, and we had a nice day. It was quieter this time, because the time we'd gone previously was half term. Don't think I bought anything apart from food, which isn't very good, is it? Time before that I'd bought a t-shirt from Bon Marche, but I didn't buy any clothing this time. And then yesterday I went to Longbridge. Did I go to Longbridge with Mum? I can't remember. Yesterday, I went to Longbridge with my mum on the day that I was supposed to be going out with my sister. and we went to Sainsbury's and ended up spending 2 hours in Sainsbury's. So I can't remember whether I said this before. I haven't put it in my diary. I am very disorganised, considering I said about admin earlier. And then yesterday, Mum and I went and picked Debbie's mum up. I've known Barb. We've known Barb now for since 1972, 73. I probably didn't meet her at the very beginning of me going to school, but I met them not long afterwards, and I've been staying at their house, been on holiday with them and everything. Now Barb was 86 last week, and she does very, very well considering she's lost all her family. We picked her up and we went to Hiller's near Bidford. It's on the Ragley Hall estate, and we sat there and we had a cup of tea, and I had coronation chicken sandwich, which was very nice, but I couldn't finish it. It came with a few crisps and a bit of salad. I got a bit trapped because there was a big party next to us that weren't there when we arrived. Didn't really click that all these tables had been put together, but managed to get out. And then Bob had a bit of an upset stomach, so we didn't go around the garden centre. I did pop into the gift shop when they were in the loo, and it was quite expensive but nice. You know, different things. When you'd expect Naffy's on the Ragley Hall estate, it's a stately home. Not sure whether it's open to the public, but anyway, they've got the air show there soon, Millington Air Show, which is a lot of hot air balloons. They've got a typhoon and other planes coming over. And I went to the Kirsty Allstop craft show there a few years ago with one of my tenor ladies, Nick, and that was quite nice. Different to see lots of different crafts, not just knitting, or barely any wool there, but I'd still managed to buy some, obviously. And Hiller's I'd like to go back to because it looked quite accessible, and it was a lovely setting. It was just done nice. I was looking forward to having, but we didn't go, so we'll have to go back there. I might get Liz and Elaine to go and meet Barb there again at some point later in the summer. So I've got plans. I've got nothing now planned. My plans for tomorrow are cancelled, so I don't have anything on for the next few days. I'll edit this maybe tonight, tomorrow morning, get it out definitely by Thursday. You won't know all that until it appears. And I want to do some things. I've got some ideas. I've been watching Ange of Yarn and Yarns this morning. I see her videos just a couple of days before other people as a patron, and she is talking about her destashing, her self-destructing basket. And I've been thinking about destashing myself. Some of the single skeins that I've got that if I haven't used them in the last 8 years, I'm not going to use them, am I really? And I want to be able to do it in a way that makes me happy. Don't really just want to put them on a destash page. I could do that, I might end up doing that, but because I've got so much material and so much lovely fabric as well that I bought specifically to do bags, I'm wondering that instead of doing the Christmas mini grab bags this year, that I do something similar with single skeins, but I'll start doing it sooner rather than later. And if there's any interest in people, mainly in the UK, unless you're willing to pay the difference in postage, of course, then I do a bag, a lined bag with a single skein, if people are interested in. And again, it would be partly to raise money for the Stroke Association, because I haven't got that much yarn minis wise anymore, because I've knitted a few of my advents, and I would have split a 20 gram into 2 10s, for instance, to share with the Christmas bags that I've done in the last couple of years. And I've had the odd skein that I know I won't use, and I've turned those into minis as well. So I don't know, what do you think? It'd probably be a similar cost. I'd have to price it up. You see, I can send something second class, for £2.99 in the UK, and that immediately goes up to about £12, and that's just basic slow-mo across the pond to wherever, up, down, around. So there's a big difference in postage costs. Anyway, let me know what you think. I'm thinking of doing that, but only if there's any interest. But I don't think I'll be doing the minis this year because I haven't got the stock of stuff that I've used it up, basically, most of it. And we can certainly talk about, if we're doing single skeins, we can certainly talk about selecting, what sort of colours you like better, and I can perhaps show the ones that I want to destash on here and get some idea of what you're getting, so it isn't a complete shock of surprise, or it can be a complete shock of surprise if you want it to be. So let me know if you'd be interested in doing that this year, working towards doing it September time, August, September, October. Anyway, that's just off the top of my head, really. I mean, thinking about it roughly, and seeing Angie's video earlier, it's reminding me that I need to firm things up, if you know what I mean. I have been talking for too long, as always, and I will go now, upload this onto my laptop, and I will probably take my cardi off because I'm a bit warm, and I'll see you very, very soon. So take care, get in touch, please. Any questions? Yeah, you know where I am. I love hearing from you all. You're lovely, you're beautiful. I say that to the dog. And he grunts when I said that. I'll see you soon. You take care. Bye.